Okay, welcome to Weather with Dr. Jeff Andresen. Today is July 20th. We are making our way through summer rather quickly, Jeff, and I think we've had some changes since the last time you and I talked, and we've gone from drought to flood to hopefully we're coming out of it a little bit now.
We are. Well, that's going to be one of the little themes of the presentation today. Let me see if I can. Do you have my screen yet? Very good. Well, I'm going to start with an image, a beautiful image, courtesy of Wood TV in Grand Rapids, looking out over the Lake Michigan, but one that I'm sure that you have seen if you've been out and have ventured forth with the mosquitoes in the evening. But we've had a lot of very hazy skies here recently. This is one of the sunsets with but it's all of the smoke that's blown in here from Western North America, both from the Western US and from Western Canada. And part of the outlook, we're going to get a little bit of a break from that, but that probably will see a return by this weekend, but I'll get to that here in just a second. As we look at the week here in review, it was fairly close to normal in terms of our mean temperatures here. The gray color generally within 1 degree Fahrenheit of the long-term normals. You can see a couple spots a little bit warmer or a little bit cooler, but generally most of the state was really close to what the climatological averages would suggest for the middle of July. On the right-hand side here, once again, for many portions of the state, more heavy rain. Certainly in notable areas here, northwestern lower, some cases more than 4 inches of rainfall, and also southeastern lower Michigan, including the Detroit area, which had very, very heavy rain here just a couple of weeks ago, but they also picked up in many cases 2 to 3 inches of additional water, which of course was too much given the rain that's fallen before. Other parts of the state somewhat drier than that, but generally it was an above normal or wetter than normal week for most of the state, especially again northwestern lower and the southeastern lower, which brings me to talk about the huge change that's occurred really over the last 3 to 4 weeks. You're looking here at 30-day precipitation totals. On the left-hand side, these are the actual values. This again goes back to the middle of June. And if you remember, the heavy rain really began in earnest in that third week of June. And then there was more in the first week of July, depending on where you were. We've had some here again recently. But in many cases, if you look at the color codes here, this pink or I guess cyan or magenta, whatever color you want to call that, that's 10 inches of precipitation for that 30-day period. And so we will have, if this were a month, we would have probably some new records set for the wettest month on record. But again, normally for the month of June, in many places in Michigan, that is the wettest month climatologically. And again, the values range from around 3 inches in the far northeastern part of the state and the normal to a little bit less than 4 inches in the far southwest and lower and the far western upper, to give you a range. But again, 10 inches is an awful lot of water. On the right-hand side here, these are the departures from normal. So now expressed as a difference here, and you can see again, there are many spots here that are 6, 7, 8 inches of rainfall above normal. Of course, that's well, very, very noteworthy in itself, but remember, it comes on the heels of what was significant drought, and in some cases there still is, but much, much less, as you can probably guess. Here's a time lapse or a daily accumulation of precipitation from the beginning of the calendar year. This looks at it a different way. This is from Kalamazoo, and it's fairly typical of that area right along I-94 that was really some of the most adversely impacted by the dryness. But the green value here is a running total of daily precipitation amounts. The brown is the normal for Kalamazoo, or what we should be seeing accumulate. And you can see most of this time here between the beginning of the calendar year and here over the last couple of days was drier than normal. And that's, you can see these flat lines when very little or no precipitation occurred. So there was a wet here stretch from late March in in the middle and latter of the second half of June. You can see here again, more than 10 inches of rain fell, and actually it has continued to fall over that area. Oops, let me go back here, and you can see we've gone from more than 8 inches below normal rainfall recently, as again middle of June, to now 3 inches plus above normal. And that's, so you can see the last value here, the observed 1.3, the normal's just short of 17 inches. So just a remarkable change in conditions here in a very, very short time. So it's the statistics sometimes, well, they may not lie. Again, we're only right now, you can see a little over what, two inches above normal, but it's the timing, of course, that matters so much. And we went from very, very little or no rainfall for prolonged periods to just too much in a very, very short time frame. The landscape around us as a result has changed dramatically, mostly depending on location. On the right-hand side here, these are plant available moisture contents for the top 3 feet. And they're expressed as a percentile relative to historical conditions. And I think the important thing is that most of, especially of lower Michigan here, you see green colors, which means that the moisture levels right now are actually a bit above the long-term averages for this time of the year. That's important to note. We're in our right now, typically in our largest drawdown or our fastest drawdown of soil moisture, because typically the needs strip or exceed what we get with rainfall. But there are a couple places in the state, notably here in the thumb. You can see some brown colors here, a couple spots over in northwestern lower Michigan, and then another area has developed in more recent past here, cross sections of upper Michigan, where we have a little bit less than normal, or continue to have less than normal. That would be the case for the thumb. On the left-hand side here is a vegetation index or condition index, and it uses satellite to help determine surface temperatures relative to normal. And the browns here indicate stress or vegetative stress. And you can see that is limited across the state. Again, there's the thumb shows up here, portions of northwestern lower Michigan, and then as we just mentioned, increasing areas of western upper Michigan. In terms of the drought monitor, this is about as big a change as you're ever going to see for that particular index. But I've got the drought monitor index for Michigan for the middle of June on the 15th on the left, and then the same thing here for the most recent or the current version of the drought monitor as of the 13th of July. And you can see again a whole lot less color on the map. We went literally from having 93% of the state in some form of abnormal dryness back on the 15th of June. Now we're down to 56. But most of it here is just the D0, which is the first category, abnormally dry. I think it's more important to note, though, that the D2, the severe drought, that's the brown color there on the left, which covered, you can see large areas of, especially of southern lower Michigan, virtually almost all gone. It has decreased in the same time frame from 30% down to 5%. But you can see still, they do have some spots here over in the thumb that are in D2. That's the only part of the state, though, that remains. Everyone else is wet enough now to be either out of the drought conditions or certainly in a lesser category. So huge changes that we don't see very often here in Michigan with the water. Our back to temperature, I mentioned it was a pretty near normal week, and so our growing degree day totals they remain still above normal. That's on the right-hand side here with the reds, generally from 3 or 4 to as many as maybe 7 calendar days ahead of normal. And that reflects totals back to the beginning of March. So we still have a little bit of a surplus at this point in time in the growing season. Well, looking at the outlook here, the forecast, it's a fairly straightforward, and I would call it a summer-like forecast. Today, the big weather story is this cold front. And these are conditions forecast here for early this afternoon. This cold front marks the leading edge of a Canadian origin air mass. You can see that the blue H up here, high pressure system over Western Ontario. That's going to be our major weather factor here for the next 1 to 2 days. And noticeably, what you will see with this front goes through, moisture is limited with it, but there will be some scattered showers and thunderstorms. I think they'll be confined though today, later this afternoon and early evening, probably to eastern sections of the lower peninsula. That's we will probably remain dry in the west. There'll also be a noticeable decrease in air temperature and humidity, some cooling. Will ahead of the front in the southern part of the state will still reach the mid 80s. Once again, still some smoke hanging around too. That's the other thing with this front as it goes through. It's going to knock that smoke out, at least temporarily here for the next day or two. So we should see clearer skies, but definitely cooler and drier air behind it. Temperatures tonight, amazingly, we'll probably see some low to mid 40s in interior sections of western upper Michigan. Most of the state, though, will fall back to the 50s. It'll be a very comfortable night for sleeping here tonight. If you plan ahead for that. So the next 2 nights actually look really nice because of this air mass, but it won't be around forever. But it's a fair conditions. Tomorrow, actually, we look at the, I mentioned the smoke here. This is the smoke model from NOAA, and looking at concentration vertically integrated across the atmosphere, and the reds and the blues here are the highest concentration. You can see Michigan here. This was as of earlier this morning, but remember I mentioned that air mass was bringing in a nice little shot of Canadian air. That's what this this light blue area is here. Very, very low concentrations, and that's pushing southward. So we will have, again, less of the smoke will be pushed out of the state, at least for a day or two, but it will probably return here by the end of the week. Note also, you can see the connection with all of these fires across western portions of both the U.S. and Canada, and that's the source origin of this, and it catches a ride in the lower levels of the jet stream all the way over this big upper air ridge, and then south and eastward into the Midwest. And we've seen that several times here, and including the most recent few days. And after a break of a day or two, again, look for it to return here by this weekend. Weather map for tomorrow, you can see that frontal boundary all the way down to the Ohio River, high pressure entrenched. Tomorrow, if you had plans to be outside, that's the day you want to do it. Sunny skies, maybe a few fair weather cumulus clouds, beautiful conditions, high temperatures only in the low to mid 70s, north, a little bit of a north breeze, but just absolutely gorgeous weather here tomorrow. And in many parts of the state, especially in the eastern part of the state, probably on the day on Thursday as well. But overall, if you're going to pick one day to be outside, tomorrow is the one to really plan on doing that. Notice here, though, off in the northern plains, the next weather system to impact us here, starting to get its act organized. Here's Thursday morning, and you can see that gets closer and brings at least the beginning threat to far western portions of upper Michigan by as early as a daybreak on Thursday. That will spread eastward during the day on Thursday, mainly talking those scattered showers and thunderstorms, nothing really very widespread or significant. And that weather system stalls out over the area with a frontal boundary here. We will also notice, at least in southwestern portions of the state and also the state on Friday, a noticeable warm up. We'll start to get return flow. Winds will shift out of the southwest, and it'll set the stage for scattered showers and thunderstorms pretty much on a daily basis, especially for Friday and Saturday. And that right now, the day Saturday probably is the best chance statewide for widespread precipitation as it looks right now. But most places will have at least a chance for rainfall for at least a couple of days. Again, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are the highest probabilities or highest likelihood, maybe lingering into Sunday, but right now, Sunday and the beginning of next week look drier. Temperature wise, I mentioned tomorrow, probably the coolest day of the week, but we will see moderation after that, and our high temperatures will be back up into the 80s here, most areas by Friday, but certainly by Saturday, continuing Sunday, and then into next week, and probably go back above normal. Low temperatures increasing from the 40s and 50s tonight, back up into the 60s by the weekend and staying there. So we'll, again, a few degrees above normal once again by the weekend. Precipitation totals for the upcoming week, generally in that half inch or so type of range. Most of the precipitation here probably either Friday or Saturday is in terms of timing. There will be a few light showers possible, again, as I mentioned today, in the eastern part of the state. Tomorrow's dry, but most of what you see here is late work week and the beginning of the weekend. followed by drier conditions for Sunday through Wednesday of next week. So PET totals here with those temperature forecasts are fairly close to normal, 0.17 to about 0.2 inches per day on average. They will, they'll be low here for the next couple of days, especially for tomorrow and on Thursday, but increase to a little bit above normal levels once again by the weekend. It will also be, by the time we get to the late weekend, we'll see a noticeable increase in humidity as well. A little bit more water vapor makes its way up from the south. In the medium range forecast guidance, not a lot of changes. The jet stream pattern over North America here, you can see this big ridge, and that has been almost a semi-permanent feature here for a lot of the spring and the summer thus far. That's bad news for areas in the west with drought, because it just basically is a continuation mostly of warmer and drier than normal conditions. Michigan, though, here in the Great Lakes region is on the downwind side of that particular feature, and it's a little more difficult, but most of the outlook suggests still warmer than normal mean temperatures. You can see that in the upper right-hand side here. Actually, fairly high probabilities of above normal temperatures, especially as you move out into the northern Great Plains, but including portions of all of the Great Lakes as well, and the other direction here with this with that northwest flow aloft and surface features. Most of the storm track remaining south of Michigan or north puts us in a drier than normal pattern as well, and you can see that on the lower right-hand side here. 8 to 14 day outlook is very similar to this, again calling for warmer and drier than normal conditions. Last one here, we had a revised long lead outlook here for the next several months. No real surprises in this either. And on the top here, this is the forecast for the month of August. You can see the big message here, very similar to what we saw last month, and actually the month prior to that. It suggests warmer than normal mean temperatures for the month of August, also for the next 3 months. So the remainder of the summer and into the early fall. That's down here in the lower left, the orange colors here. Much of the Great Lakes, if not all the Great Lakes region, indicated drier than normal. And the precip pattern also looks similar to the previous outlooks. Michigan mostly in this EC or equal chances area between what's expected to be drier than normal out to our west, and a little bit wetter than normal here to our south and east. And that's also been a common theme in the long lead outlooks. There is, by the way, in back of this, it's not really having an impact right now, but the increasing likelihood of seeing a return of La Nina conditions in the equatorial Pacific here by the fall or the upcoming winter as we get beyond this period. And right now, there would be probably very little expected impact with a La Nina, even if it came back. But later in the year, typically, and this did not happen last year when we had La Nina, but typically we see a fairly active winter type pattern with La Nina when it corresponds with the winter season. So that's something to think about as we move into the fall and thinking about the upcoming winter period. But besides that, again, the message really warmer than normal is the consistent theme. So summarizing here, well, we've got some nice Canadian origin air moving into the state with showers at the leading edge of that in the eastern part of the state, but setting the stage for a gorgeous day tomorrow and for many portions also on Thursday. Next chance for precipitation, mostly scattered showers and thunderstorms late Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's the most likely time to see rainfall, and probably not heavy rainfall expected, but also look for, after cool weather here over the next 24 to 36 hours, a warming trend in the weekend as well, back up to above normal temperatures by the end of the weekend into next week. And that really leads us into the medium range, which we saw also warmer and drier than normal, and certainly warmer than normal in the long loop. And I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Let me go side by side here. There we go. Boy, some remarkable differences there, especially in Kalamazoo, where you saw what I think is 8 inches below to 3 inches above in and 30 days.
That is really difficult to do. That's something we just don't see very often. And of course, it only happens if you go back up. We can't have a deficit, of course, develop that that quickly. The deficits and the declines are always much more gradual given how drought works. But the reversals are when we add the water back and make up for lost. But it's just amazing though. In many areas, if you look at the long-term averages, they'll say, oh, it's 105% or 95% of normal. And so we're close to where we should be, but of course it's been anything but. We've been one extreme or the other, and it just cancels out.
And I know one thing that has definitely liked all that water is mosquitoes.
This has been the year, and I'm sure for others, for me personally here in Hazlet, I've been here 30 years, and I can say and I can actually show you evidence. The mosquito pressure is the worst I've seen in 30 years. It's a little bit better now than it was a week or two ago, but after that heavy rain, all the heavy rain we had back at the end of June and early July, it literally was about a 10-day frame. These summer flood mosquitoes hatch and move to adult status, and I don't ever remember seeing as many. And they're also they're aggressive. They're not the mosquitoes that just sort of fly around and buzz around, and they're actively trying to seek out hosts and prey. I don't remember anything quite like it, and my DEET usage or repellent usage is at an all-time high this year.
Well, let's hope maybe some of these fairer, drier conditions slow them down.
Slow things down, yeah. Hopefully, we sure hope so.
All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you back next week. Thank you.